My ex-husband, 42, and I, female 42, got divorced 4 years ago. We have a son, tween, and a daughter a couple of years younger together. We're still good friends and co-parents. My ex started dating this girl about a year ago, and he introduced her to our kids about a month ago, and they moved in together. My kids usually described her as young and nice, so I assumed she must be in her 30s. Let's call her Katie. A few days ago, I got a call from someone. She introduced herself as Katie and said my son was sick and she had been trying to contact my ex, but he wasn't answering. He keeps his phone on silent when he's in an important meeting. She was clearly nervous and told me she didn't know what to do and asked if I could go there. So I left work and went to their home. She opened the door and I was very surprised because she looked so young. She was about 19. She told me that my son had a high fever. She had no idea what to do, and she'd be late for college. I told her not to worry and go. I'll take care of my son. She came back a few hours later with some canned soup and fruits. She was clearly very nervous, and other than nervously asking me how my son was doing, she barely said anything. She was a very nice girl, but I couldn't get over how young she was, and I just couldn't stop myself. I told her she was too young to be dating someone twice her age and had 2 kids. She got very defensive and said she knows she looks younger, but she's 23, and who she dates is none of my business. She then basically threw me out by telling me that my son's fever was almost gone, and my ex had called and said he'd be home in 5 minutes. So I left. My ex called me that night and told me I was an idiot and that my comment made his girlfriend upset. I was just mentioning a fact. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. 23-year-old woman dating a man who's 42 with 2 kids? Like, what the heck are you signing up for, hun? He's almost twice your age and going after someone who could be his daughter. I'd have some things to say too. And since she got upset, she's clearly immature and unsure of herself. Otherwise, she would have just shut you down and laughed it off with your ex. And he's already expecting her to take care of his kids, and she has no clue what to do. You were right, OP. Maybe you could have worded it better, or maybe it's none of your business, but you were right. In a few years' time, they'll break up, and you'll receive another tearful phone call from her saying how you were always right. Because age gap relationships are never normal. Sometimes people just need some tough love. Personally, I'd be angry if my ex left my kids with someone not equipped to take care of them. Unfortunately, she didn't know how to care for a child, and he left his phone on silent. Plus, she was going to be late for college and was leaving. If the son wasn't sick, who was going to stay with the kids anyway? Who would watch your kids while this girl went to classes for a couple of hours? That is your business. Your kids shouldn't be left alone for several hours. I'd be much more concerned about that. If the girlfriend was my friend, I'd sit her down for some serious discussions. But she's not even started her own life, and she's ready to saddle herself with 2 school-age children and a man almost twice her age? Absolutely not. You were surprised, so it didn't come out in a nice way. But I can understand being worried for her when there is such a gap. Your ex has so much more experience than her. Would he be happy if your daughter ended up in an unbalanced relationship like this one? Frankly, you should have spoken to your ex about his taste and the fact that he left your kids in the care of someone who isn't equipped to look after them, at least yet. This poor girl is less at fault than the ex, and while you're probably right, giving her your unasked for opinion and advice isn't likely to endear you to her, and isn't really fair on her when it's your ex who's at fault here. This girl is 23. Her frontal lobe still needs to finish developing. This conversation should have been had with the ex. OP, you should apologize for offering your unsolicited opinion to this girl. I, 18 female, recently got a sibling that's a few months old. My parents, 37 female and 42 male, separated 9 months ago for 2 months, then got back together and permanently separated 3 months ago. My parents were each other's first relationship, which I've overheard my dad complain about. A while ago, we went through a tough period. My mother got pregnant, and 5 months in, lost it. A month later, it turned out that my dad had been having an affair. My parents tried to work it out, found out that the affair partner was pregnant, and that was the end of it. When they separated, my dad wanted to make it work. So when my mother said she was moving into grandma's 7 hours away, Dad asked if I'd live with him. Mom begged me to go with her, but I didn't. I believed it was best because A, school and friends, and I believed my parents could work through it. They didn't. Dad's new girlfriend and baby moved in. The new girlfriend is pretty cool, actually. So I guess Mom found out because she texted me. It breaks my heart that you've picked sides. You could have visited me or even texted, but you haven't. I love you, but you've behaved selfishly. I texted back, asking if she expected me to move away from my friends, family, and school. My dad didn't cheat on me, and they could have moved past it, but it was only because they were going through a hard time. No response. I think I've been blocked. I didn't text because I haven't been able to pay my phone bill. Am I the idiot? I don't think I am. You are the idiot for not contacting your mom at all. She's recently gone through a divorce, miscarriage, and her lifelong partner having an affair and getting another woman pregnant. That's a lot to go through alone. Yeah, she's an adult, but it doesn't mean you can't check in on her to see how she is. Also, the response, "he didn't cheat on me," is just plain insensitive. It's also odd to blame her for the divorce. Yeah, they probably could have moved past it, but why is that the responsibility of the person cheated on? Also, you willingly let your dad use you as a tactic to manipulate your mom into forgiving him after she had an affair is just gross. Don't you think your mom deserves better? I understand being young and not wanting to leave your friends and life, but at least have a shred of empathy for your mom. OP is definitely self-centered on this. Anyone with an ounce of compassion could understand why pregnancy loss, infidelity, and betrayal could be hard on a person, but she chooses not to give a crap. But hey, OP wasn't cheated on. Wait till Dad favors the new baby more and she feels left out and not part of the new family. LOL. He doesn't even make sure she's got a working cell phone. Hopefully she smartens up. OP will be part of the new family, the babysitting part. Also, which phone can't send messages without a contract? WhatsApp, iMessage, Messenger, Signal, and so on. There's email and many other communication channels, like video calls, etc. OP, you can post your story, but can't email or WhatsApp? Seriously? As a child whose father broke our family, you are the idiot. You need therapy for this lack of empathy. You just don't feel anything for your mother. You resent her because how dare she have self-respect and not tolerate your father's abuse, so you can keep going in your comfortable life. There's something wrong with you. Search for help. This level of cruelty is not normal. This happened this past weekend. My male 33, wife 33, and I have an infant child. My wife and I planned a date night, and we hired our babysitter we've used half a dozen times. The babysitter, female 20, is a college student living in our neighborhood and was recommended by some friends who had kids. She came over to our house, we told her our son's schedule, and then headed out. We were going to go out for dinner and then meet up with friends for drinks. We have 2 cameras in our house that we can access remotely to check in on our son. One is over his bed, and the other's over his play area in the living room. The babysitter knows about both cameras, so it isn't like we're spying on her. My wife gets a notification that there's motion in the play area, and she pulls it up to check. She sees a dog sniffing our son. We're both like, what the heck? We don't own any dogs, and have no plans to ever own any dogs. We try calling, no answer, so we rush home. We go inside and the babysitter's holding our son, and there's a golden retriever just hanging out. Everyone is calm and fine. The babysitter seems shocked that we're already home. I asked the babysitter why there was a dog in our house. She said it was her golden retriever and she decided to bring it today. The babysitter assures us the dog is baby and kid friendly and is sweet and safe. I don't want my son around dogs at such a young age, even if they are sweet and safe. I'm getting angrier and angrier. This is not something she was transparent about, and if we knew the dog was going to be there, I would have never okayed it. I just firmly tell her to grab her dog and please leave. I informed her we won't be using her in the future and pay her half the rate we had agreed upon, mostly since we used her less than half the time we were going to be out. She asked for the full amount. I told her, no, you put my kid in danger and you should leave. She says she did nothing wrong, but I don't see it that way. So was I the idiot? Not the idiot. If she thought it was no big deal, then why didn't you see the dog arrive when she did before you left? Was the dog hiding around the corner? Did someone drop the dog off? Did the sitter leave to pick up their dog? Who knows? Oh, good point. Did she have the dog in her car and leave the baby unattended for the time it took to get the dog? Did she invite someone over to the home to bring the dog? Did she take the baby to a different location to retrieve the dog? My goodness, I nannied before my current job. I wouldn't dream of doing this without permission. Yeah, who in their right mind would bring an animal into a person's home without checking with them? I would be so upset. I'm allergic to dogs. The hair alone would have been a clue. You literally have to follow Goldens with a vacuum. This was extremely unprofessional. The sitter's not safe, and you were right to fire them. I don't agree with your fears about putting your child in danger. The kid was perfectly safe, but that's not really the point. Your home, your kid, your decision. Whether the babysitter left and returned with the dog or had a friend deliver it, they deliberately concealed it from you. So even without your kid there, you do need to approve dogs in the house. The babysitter definitely put the child in danger. All dogs bite if pushed far enough, even if they're kid and baby friendly. An unfamiliar dog can react in whatever way a dog reacts. You never know how the dog will react to someone they've never met, let alone someone who just screams. Honestly, it baffles me when people are so sure animals around humans are perfectly safe. You're never perfectly safe around an animal. My son, 21, started dating Amber, 21 female, 3 years ago. And at the end of 2021, she moved into my house. I allowed it for my son's mental health and feelings. Her parents were moving out of state, and she had no friends or family to stay with. I watched my son cry for weeks because his girlfriend had no choice but to move away with her parents. And ultimately, Mama Bear came out and protected my son the only way I knew how. So she moved in, and I made it perfectly clear to my son and Amber that I fully expected rent payments to cover food and the extra hot water cost. I was only going to charge exactly what the extra cost would be, roughly $400, and also stated that Amber was to get a job. Both of them agreed to this. I even put it in writing and had it filled out as a tenancy agreement so that they could get their own place afterward and have references for rental history. So the lease was all signed, stamped, and notarized. In the first couple of months, it really appeared like Amber was trying to get a job, but after that, she just full-on stopped giving a crap. If I asked her if she had rent, she would immediately be like, "You know I don't," and just shrug it off. So my son was paying the entire rent by himself, which, whatever. If he wants to do that, then that's on him. But it was the lack of caring and the complete taking advantage of the situation that made me angry. After about 7 months, I sat Amber down and reminded her of my agreement and told her she was walking on thin ice and that I was fed up with her not even attempting to hold up her end of the deal. She then pulled the, "I understand where you're coming from, but please try to be sympathetic about the fact that I haven't seen my parents in months and I'm struggling to even get out of bed." I did sympathize with this. I even offered to get her therapy. She said she would when she felt she was mentally ready. Yeah, that time never came, but the excuses stuck. It's always a different excuse, but it usually has something to do with missing her parents. Well, this month I saw that my hot water bill skyrocketed by an extra $300. It then came to my attention that Amber's been showering 3 times a day because standing under the scalding water is the only thing that takes away my sadness. At this point, I was done. I'm forking out an extra $700 a month with no help from her, and my son is struggling to pay her portion because he's in college. So I again told her she needed a job. She pulls the, "I'm so depressed, I can barely drag myself out of bed. I can't work outside of the house." I snapped and said that I refused to accept her millions of mental illness excuses anymore, and either she finds a job within the month or I'm canceling her lease, and she can get the heck out. She ran to the room crying and slammed the door. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She's taking advantage of you at this point. An extra $700 is a lot of money, and when it's month after month, something has to give, unless you got it like that. Honestly, my son would have had to have his cry, and eventually he'd move out and meet someone new, as I wouldn't have taken her in to begin with. That was very generous of you. Her moving could have been the best thing for her, but no one knows. Honestly, it appears as if she just really doesn't want to work. OP, please consider gifting her a one-way bus ticket to visit her parents. Tell her you feel so bad that she's suffering, and you don't know how long she may need to stay to feel better. Just get her out before she gets pregnant. Once she's gone, you can work on your son. Box up her stuff and mail it to her. You wouldn't want her to be without her stuff. Yeah, does she not talk to her parents at all? If she's not paying rent, then they should be paying it for her until she gets a job. And please ask your son to take precautions. The last thing he and you need is a sad, depressed, and pregnant Amber. However, if she misses her parents so much she can't function like a normal adult, she should go back to them. My family has a tradition involving inheritance. Children receive sentimental items and a token cash amount, and grandchildren get a trust set up for their future. It works for our family, and has for a few generations now. My brother blew his trust during the dot-com bubble, but his kids still have money for university and to get a start on life. It's a way to keep one generation from messing everything up. I'm doing my will, and my daughter's approached me about her inheritance. She informed me that she was going to be child-free, and I respect her decision. She thinks that the earth is overpopulated and doesn't want to contribute. I told her that her inheritance from me would be some souvenirs from her childhood trips and about $5,000. She said that she knew that each of her brother's children was receiving substantially more than that in their trust. I said she had received her trust from her grandfather, which was how it worked. So she thinks it's unfair that her decision will lead to her getting less money. She refuses to understand that even if she had 10 children, she wouldn't be getting any more than she already is. She called the family tradition ridiculous and patriarchal, which is odd because, as stated, her trust came from her grandfather. She thinks I'm an idiot for not changing how things are. I told her that our family's been doing this for a long time, and it works. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Even if her hypothetical kids get an inheritance, it's not her money. She won't be getting more or less out of it. Same with your grandchildren. The money they receive doesn't belong to your son. She wants to receive more money than all of her siblings, so she does some mental gymnastics to justify her greed. But I think the fundamental issue is that you both view an inheritance from you differently. I think she's seeing this as how much she's getting and how much her brothers are getting. But the point of the inheritance from you is not to make things equal between your sons and your daughter. The point of this inheritance is to help future generations. No future generations are coming from her, so she doesn't get extra money. But I'm actually curious. What would happen if a child was born after the grandparent died? Would that kid not have a trust fund? But their older brother, born before his grandparents passed, would have one. Your tradition does not consider modern family values and changing norms. This is set to reward them for having kids. What if one was infertile? This is ridiculous. Just because something is a tradition doesn't mean it's right and needs to continue. Just because one dumb guy blew his money doesn't mean your daughter should basically get nothing.